Hey, this is part of my guitar improvisation loop series, and today we're going to look at the Gipsy Kings song, Pharaon. So the chords in this song are B minor, that's the one chord because we're in the key of B minor. Then we have a G chord, that's going to be called a flat 6. Then E minor, that's the 4 chord. And then we have our 5 chord. This is where the harmonic minor manifests itself. This is F sharp major, or F sharp 7, or F sharp sus4 going into F sharp 7, and that's what I did there. And that's what we're going to see in the loop as well. Okay, so we have a rumba rhythm. Clapping on the 4th beat. That's what the Gipsy Kings do. F sharp sus to F sharp 7. So what are we going to do over this? Well, the harmonic minor scale is manifesting itself over this. The 5 chord should have been in the natural minor scale a minor chord, but the reason that it's major is it gives us more of a sense of urge to resolve to back to the 1 chord, and that's what makes it sound Spanish. So here is the scale shape that we could play in the position I happen to be in. Would look like this in the key of B minor. That's the natural minor scale, right? Now, if you know this as a major scale, we could call it the C form major scale, and the relative major of B minor is D major. So I'm using the C form to use our cage system to name this shape. C form major scale shape in the key of B minor, or you could say if we wanted to name it by this note, which we should because we're in the key of B minor, that renders an A minor form. So we could say we're playing the A minor shape. Some people call this pattern number 3. It doesn't matter what you call it. The more things you call it, the better, because that means we have a deeper understanding of it because there's so many things that are happening in this pattern. So definitely want to know this one. We'll look at the 4 other ways to do it in a second, but what we have to account for is this. There's an A sharp note, so all the A's become A sharp, just really over this chord here. But you're free to play that when that chord is not happening as well. So we would have this. There's your A sharp. So we have to alter that note. There it is again. And the root again is B minor. So if that's tricky right now, if you're just working on learning the 5 shapes, which we're going to show you right now, don't even worry about the harmonic minor scale. You got to get the other stuff down first, and then we alter that note to make it sound Spanish over that chord. And in a minor key, when that 5 chord rolls around, that's what you got to be able to do when you're playing like Spanish guitar improvisation. But like I said, if that's too complicated right now, just do these shapes. So we're doing this one. The next shape would look like this. Now we have this next shape, we could call it the G form major scale, or the E form minor scale. Another way to play that would be step out here instead of having to stretch your pinky, or stretch your pinky. Gotta know both ways. And that pattern is where the minor pentatonic is really based. So if you know any minor pentatonic licks, that will work in this key starting on the 7th fret there. Then we have our E form, we could call it major scale. Now I know we're in a minor key, so we should be focusing on this note, the 6th note. That's where the minor scale is. And there's our chord, there's a B minor chord. We're living right in that scale shape. And the final one kind of goes off the neck down here, but I'm going to I have a cutaway. We'll go way up here first. And we can stretch our pinky out for this. Stretching our pinky twice. Or step out twice here and then come back. Kind of a drag that we have to learn. There's already 5 ways to do everything, and then we have to learn an alternate way to do 2 of them, but that's just the way it is. Now, when that scale went open, so that would look like this. This is exactly what I just did up here, but down here slipped off the neck. in the key of B minor, where there's 2 sharps, so all of the open strings are valid for us, except for the A when that one note rolls around, but don't think about that. But that's kind of cool to do open string stuff like this. lot of mileage you can get out of doing open string kind of stuff like that, because there's open strings are available to us in this key. Okay, now we first need to be able to navigate across the neck in the key of B minor. That's step one, and maybe you might take a year to do that. I mean, I know these so well now, but it's not overnight that you get able to connect those together and see it as one giant scale pattern. But once you're able to do that, and some of these shapes you might like better than others, and that's fine. You don't have to master all of these. You just have to be good at a couple of them, and truly, you only need to know one way to play any given chord and one way to play any scale that you need at the moment. You don't have to do 5 ways, which we have to do at the beginning to get it down. Now we want to think about what the chord is that's happening at that moment. So we have a B minor chord. So if you know your arpeggios, we need to see these notes, if we can, that are embedded inside of the map of your scale that we just talked about. So we started with this shape. And inside of that, if you can see this arpeggio, here's the 5th of that chord, the root of that chord, the 3rd of that chord, minor 3rd. Coming back down again. You're going to see that on the screen in every position. So the next one would look like this. And that's quite an undertaking to know all of your arpeggios. But we really only need to see a couple of those. We don't have to be awesome at that yet, but that I would say is our ultimate goal. So here comes the loop. You're going to see it go round and round and round. The chord name will be on the screen and the map of the entire scale. And then as each chord passes, you're going to see the arpeggio notes, so just the notes of the chord as a different color inside of the scale, and those are the notes that we're shooting to land on whenever we punctuate a phrase. So here's a B minor chord. I know this is my scale notes. And by the way, you can also play notes that aren't in the scale. You absolutely can do that. Just don't spend a lot of time on them and try to do them on unimportant weak beats, if you can think of that. So you might do something like this. So I landed on that note, not because I'm thinking, well, F sharp, that's the perfect 5th in a B minor chord. No, I'm just seeing it in the pattern and knowing that it's in the arpeggio of that chord. Now the chord changes to G, so the next time around I could play the same phrase and land here, not because I'm thinking of the note G, but I just see it in the pattern. So if B minor is happening, I could land there, and then I'll do it again for G. So now it sounds like we're following the chords, and that's what we want to sound like when we improvise. So here's the chord loop for Pharaon by the Gipsy Kings. Pharaon. Pharaon.